Oh, hello there. I'm Mapledungeons, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about this build that I've been making. The thing is, earlier today I was considering what kind of build I should make custom for the Khylo map. The thing is, there's 3 different maps, and you have time to prepare for them, so you want to kind of be optimizing yourself for each of those maps. But the most important that needs to be optimized for really is Khylo. Khylo has some interesting mechanics you have to watch out for, especially as a Guardian. What I have been doing, and what most teams do with their Guardians, is send them to mid. Some teams will send someone else to mid, or some people might even not send the Guardian at all and send 2 people right to mid to get that shit. But about half the time, I'd say right now, you're just going to be fighting another Guardian over mid, and there's going to be a lot of knockback, and you have to consider that. So that's the number one thing you have to consider. You need a lot of survivability in case they send 2. You need a lot of knockback to try and get that point away if they send 1. And the third thing to really consider is that if they manage to keep their treb up for a long time, you're going to need to be dodging those treb shots. So those are the 3 things to really consider. And for that reason, I'm just going to go through the traits and the armor and the skills of what I'm going to be doing for Khylo. Now, the traits aren't the most interesting part of this, but I'm still going to fill this out. What I'm going to do is put this skill, which will give me a reduction of cooldown on all shield skills and 90 extra toughness. Then I am going to spec into losing condition every 10 seconds, just in case I go against some heavy condition damage, and I'm really going to need that. Sorry if you just heard some loud current in the background, but that happens. Then I am going to put all symbols heal allies as well as symbols are larger, so I can just put that down on the mid. I can put down that symbol and I can be happy with it, and it'll just continuously heal me. I then have shouts. I have 2 shouts, so I'm gonna do the 20% recharge rate on shouts. And then finally, for the last trait line, I am going to actually, for this skill, I'm going to go into concentration skills, recharging 20% faster for now, but I might change this out for a spear weapon maybe, depending if I switch this skill out, or I might switch it out for retaliation, but that depends on what skill you're using, and I'm going to get into that in a couple of minutes. Finally, the interesting skill, I think of all these skills, the traits, the most interesting is this choice. Instead of going into heavy condition removal, which would be optimal for most cases, I'm gonna go into 3 extra seconds of stability every time I pop my Virtue of Courage. This just gives a lot of extra stability, so you can use that instead of dodging to evade enemy knockbacks or enemies' big attacks that will get you off point. This is because we kind of need to save our dodges for the treb shot. And because of that treb shot, I'm actually doing a whole new armor set and rune set on weapons. So what I have is 6 runes of the adventure. What this does on the 6th skill there is give me 100% endurance whenever I pop my heal skill. So I can dodge once, dodge twice, and then pop my heal, and I'll be back to full and have a full new 2 dodges to be used. This makes me be able to dodge the treb shots for a long time as long as I do that. And then I have the 50% endurance whenever I swap to this weapon. This just gives me constant endurance that I can just keep on dodging. You might get hit by the treb shot once or twice, but if you're good, you should be able to avoid most of that treb damage. And you can even have your team not focus too much on the treb at the start. It gives your team a big advantage, and I guess I'll finally just go over the skills I'm using. I'm going to be using, first of all, just the hammer and the mace, just because the mace shield, just because the shield has that extra knockback on it, and then the hammer has the knockback on it, as well as the immobilize and the ring of warding. So what you want to do probably is, if you can get a banish off, get him away from the point, you put down your ring of warding, and then when that runs out you want to immobilize them at the right time, and that would actually get you the point capped. If that doesn't work out too well, you have your shield of absorption, and then you can spec into Sanctuary. I'm using Sanctuary right now with that trait line, but the only real skills you need are the other ones. Save Yourselves is a very important defensive skill, and will give you almost every buff in the game, and will make you pretty tough for a long time, as well as it will break his stun for you. We have a second stun breaker in the form of Stand Your Ground, which also gives stability and retaliation. You're not going to focus too much on the retaliation for this skill, you're going to be using it for the stability along with this skill. It's going to give you some nice high uptime and stability, and you shouldn't get knocked around too much. Finally, I'm using Renewed Focus just because it goes really well with this build, and the book might be useful in some situations, but for the majority of the time, at least half the time, you're going to be alone in mid. So you want to spec into something that's really defensive. Now this skill, if you see your team that you're fighting is going to be using some high condition damage, you see a couple of Necros on the team, or you see a Necro and a Condition Ranger, you see anything that you suspect, oh, this guy is going to stack conditions on me, you probably want to spec into Contemplation of Purity. You might want to go into the Smite condition, but I suggest Contemplation of Purity just because if you do get in a team fight, you'll pop your Save Yourselves and then Contemplation of Purity, and you will be golden, there will be no conditions on your whole team, and you will have a bunch of buffs. You could also spec into the Spirit Weapon, the Hammer, for extra knockback. This is something I still have yet to test, so I suggest that you try this second skill out all you want if you're going to copy paste this build, but what this video is really about is just to let you know that you kind of need to change your stuff up for different maps, and this applies to any class, even if you're not playing Guardian. You'll want to look at the map and look what's needed from you and then switch it up. That's what a lot of PvP and Guild Wars 2 right now is about, so I hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I've been Mapledungeons. If you'd like to see more content like this in the future, you can subscribe to my channel and let me know. If you don't, then let me know too. Otherwise, I will see you next time.